Well, if 2020 was the year that flipped the world on its head, 2021 was the year that we got used to seeing things upside down. With normal thrown out the window, the people around the world started to embrace the unknown and in doing so championed all the things that make each one of us unique. Now today, as usual, this conversation helps us reflect on the large role we all have to our families and the country. Tonight in the studios, I have the government Chief Whip Honorable Thomas Tayebwa and the NUP spokesperson who doubles also as the chairperson of the COSASA in Parliament. I'm Andrew Chamagero. With me is Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi, of course, the Member of Parliament from Nakawa West as well. I'm Andrew Chamagero, and this conversation tonight, we are looking at the different layers of this country, from politics to economy and far beyond. This is On the Spot. Yes, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. Well, the conversation starts. Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi, congratulations. That's been a very good year for you. 1, you had a wedding. 2, you had a baby. 3, you came in Parliament. What more can I say? Honorable Thomas Tayebwa. You became a lawyer.
But I got married. That's
Congratulations about that.
Thank you.
Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, this has been a good year for you as well. I bumped into one of his sanitizers. You know he makes those? Yeah, he does.
You will pay for this car.
You became a government chief whip. I'm not sure you saw this coming. It was a shocker to all of us. The cabinet of the fishmongers that came through by storm. No one saw it coming. Joel, from where we start from, let me start with you as NUP, as a party. What do you make of 2021?
2021 has been one of those years, bittersweet.
Okay.
You've talked about, you know, the nice things that have happened to me as an individual, and I thank God for all the milestones and whatever else is coming ahead. But it's been an incredibly tough year for us as a country. COVID-19 came, it hit us, you know, it hit our economy so hard, so hard it did. Education. Uganda has closed schools the longest in the whole world. Can you imagine that? I meet young people and I ask them, so which class are you? And they tell me, Honorable, the last time we were in school, I was in senior 2. Now I don't know which class I am in. You know, it is tragic. The economy literally shut down at some point. Yeah. We are struggling, and it's going to be a real struggle to pick it up. We put in place curfew and said, no, beyond 7 p.m. you cannot move. As if people were saying, during the COVID-19 doesn't move around. When you are in Kubo, wherever you are, plentiful. But at night, COVID-19 moves very quickly and it catches people. That makes sense to me. Okay. You know, we killed the whole night economy for a long time. There's a night economy. So transport, borders, supermarkets, shops, and so on. You know, I met somebody in my constituency who was saying, Honorable, you see, for us, you know, the person runs a bar. Said, my bar has been closed for all this while, but there are those bars which operate. You know, they tell you, that bar works very well because Mohozi drinks from there. You've heard the stories. And
even harder,
they're always open. You know, and you say, but wait a minute. I thought what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And the time we really put in place the lockdown, we were in support of that lockdown. I remind you, Andrew, that when COVID-19 began to shake the world, as NUP, we were the first to say, you know what, let's have a halting, you know, slowing down. Yeah. In fact, we closed our offices before Mr. Museveni locked down the country. Because we were saying, this thing has hit the world. You know, there were 2 cases, I think, in Kenya, 1 in Tanzania, another in Rwanda. So we were surrounded. We said, you know what? So there was a time when it was justifiable, but a time came when it was just not justifiable.
So it was sweet and sour for you.
COVID-19 got used by people who practice brigandage. You know, there is theft, then there is thuggery, then there is robbery,
We'll get there.
then there is brigandage.
We will get there later.
know?
We'll get
The
there.
brutality.
Joel, so
I don't know what you wanted me to talk about specifically.
No, your
because-
2021, I was trying to gauge how far your yardstick could go, but it was sweet and sour.
Let me say this as well, because this is important. We went in an election. This election was like a military operation. The brutality meted out on people. People were killed. And to date, there are no answers.
We'll get
People
there.
have not been arrested.
Honorable
People
Thomas
are in
Tayebwa.
jail, the Ssenyonyi,
Joel,
and others whose names are
Joel,
not
I'm
known.
hosting this show. We'll get back later.
You asked me, I'll give it to
Honorable
you.
Tayebwa, this year has been, to him, sweet and sour. What do you make of it as government?
No, on our side, well, it's also been, to a large extent, very, very sweet.
Okay.
We retained the power. We retained the power.
Retained power.
The
Your choice
NRM?
of words.
Oh, yeah. The NRM won, and we retained it in a way which Joel and team agreed with, because they attempted to challenge. Then, without anything, I saw them going to court to withdraw their challenge, meaning they conceded.
Whatever. You know why we pulled out of Ouijidoro's court?
No, we don't know. It was your decision to go there, and it was your decision to go out, so I can't know for sure. And then, of course, we also won Parliament very well. Our programs in Parliament have passed through on the side of government, and on the side of NRM, toward the end of the year, we had by-elections. We won around 82% of the by-elections, the recent ones. So on the political side, it's been good. But again, like Joel said, we had challenges, acts of nature, the pandemic that came in. But I think I would want to look at it from an angle of a situation to test your resilience as a country. When this happened, did the country close down? As in, did we lack services? I would say no. The construction industry boomed. You're seeing banks registered profits. Everything went on because we have built a resilient economy. I can't say it wasn't affected because all over the world, but I was proud as a person to see that activities went on, meaning it's all ports closed, imports, couldn't come in, but we remained operating as a country. That to me was a very big plus and a very big plus.
When you say we remained operating as a country, because as media here we ran stories where people were in need of food. We saw people in need of health care. We saw the ones, when your government was planning the lockdown, there was no the aspect of inclusion. The disabled, their packages came a little bit later. When you have those ones with chronic illnesses, they were not factored in. So when you say much as the economy
no, that's
was,
different. That's different, Andrew. Those are challenges which I'm talking about.
But I can't sweep them under the carpet.
What I'm meaning was you couldn't find that, for example, we don't have cement to do construction. We don't have steel, okay? You don't have clothes. You don't have, So the import substitution strategy of the government
kept running.
Has really worked. That's what I was meaning. That we can stand on our own. Of course, individuals can have challenges. Your pockets can, can run dry. Government taxes, we would be making a lot of money in taxes. We were not able to do that. We lost over 3 trillion in taxes immediately. But as a country, we could survive on our own. That's what I was trying to put up.
Okay. Before you come back, he disagrees with you on a couple of issues, but he will come in later. Government promised to open up the economy. I want to paint for you a picture. The president is, we are assuming he's going to speak.
He is.
Because he usually speaks on 31st.
No, he is.
And assuming he speaks before midnight, say at 8 p.m. And says that the country will be open as of 1st Jan 2022. And there is this bar owner in Honorable Ssenyonyi's constituency who has closed his bar, but is ready for business as of 1st Jan. He opens his bar at 15 minutes past midnight. It's 1st Jan. How ready are you as government to engage, because now these are curfew hours previously, and you know how the soldiers have been behaving on the roads and all that, and you know, enforcing the curfew. Someone is going to drive at 1 p.m., rather 1 a.m. in the night, and is going to the bar to celebrate, whatever it is.
You know, number one, I don't want to preempt what the president is going to say because I don't know.
We are assuming
it's his speech.
Yes.
He's been preparing for it. I know we've given him our views as cabinet and as a COVID task force. So, but the final decision is his because he gets advice from very many angles. But number two, the president speaks in clear terms. Okay?
That's true.
If he's to direct that you open 1st January, he will have opened. Okay? So when the president speaks, you don't go around to try to interpret. That's why some of you were told that if you want to interpret, you wait for the LODs, for the LODs to interpret for you.
Knowing very well that LODs at times use excessive force.
You know how they can interpret. So the president is very, very clear, and I'm sure tomorrow he will be very, very clear tomorrow at 8, live on NTV. He will be very, very clear.
He had promised subsidies to the small businesses. How far with that promise?
But that one we've already provided.
The money?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We have already provided. We have released, I think it's 100 billion to SMEs. We've passed through our government banks, Housing Finance, Post Bank, and Pride Microfinance. And then the banks also are going to match it with another 100 billion. That one has already been released, and it's being borrowed at 10%. So I would urge small business owners to go into those banks and look at those funds, how best they can be supported. But also, we provided, of course, now beyond the big banks. Joel and I, who are in Parliament, we provided money to UDC. I think 128 billion.
So that makes it 400 billion.
That one basically is for businesses that are not able to borrow. Okay? You might be having your business struggling, but you are not able to borrow because of maybe your credit rating, but it's a viable business. So that money, we said you should go to UDC, you engage UDC management, it gets equity. Because you see, it's not all about debt. No, some of them would want to do a mix of debt and equity. Others would want to do just equity. So you shed off some equity. UDC will analyze your business, help you to grow. Once it grows, then it sells back to you. You get back your equity. So that one is aimed at some businesses like in the agriculture sector, which are not very easy to verify in terms of credit rating. So, and some of them have already benefited. So I'm very, very sure that what is very important is giving this information to all Ugandans.
To the public.
So that they can benefit, they can go in, opportunities are available. Money for Myoga is also still there.
Do we need to talk about Myoga on this program?
Yes. You know,
Honorable.
Chamagero, let me tell you one thing.
Yes.
Some people laugh at Myoga.
I for one, I would laugh. Please,
allow me to tell you one thing. Us who are on the government side, analyzing situations, how we've managed to contain some of the activities of my friends like Joel, their party. Myoga has played a very critical role. Very, very critical.
Honorable, this year.
These people in garages. No, these people in garages. These people in markets.
The saloons.
The small people. You see, for us, we can laugh at, we can laugh at 50,000.
And they're wondering where that money is.
Okay, I'm just talking to those people. We can laugh at 50,000.
Yes.
But it means a lot someone in the market. Okay? So for us, we've analyzed it. We know Myoga. It's one of the things which have helped us to contain the situation in this city where people especially
you give me 3 minutes.
I really want to appreciate that, but to bring it to your context, this year we ran stories for close to 2 weeks when the government was going around in the different constituencies trying to audit how the Myogas were working. You saw what people were talking about the Myogas and the flows that were there.
The inefficiencies which are there do not mean that the whole program died.
Of course, yes.
For example, in my area, during Christmas, I was engaging people in my area. They are demanding for more money.
In Myoga?
Yes, they are saying this Myoga money has done a lot. Please, we want more money.
Honorable
And the next financial year, we are putting another 59 billion in a year.
Honorable Ssenyonyi, what do you make of, first of all, of them your guys saying, because you were at the center of all this when you're auditing all these books and all that?
You see, the NRM has mastered the art of manipulating citizens financially. Yeah? Each time we are getting into an election in this country, I don't know how long you've been in the media. Perhaps it is for some time. Me, I was only there for 14 years. Only 14. You've probably been there longer.
For 16 years.
But you see, each time we were headed into an election, there was some kind of program. Kulembeka, prosperity for a few, which they call the prosperity for all. I don't know, youth livelihood, now Myoga, and so election time, before, during, and shortly after elections. But you see, I used to sit where you're seated, and I would ask government officials, do you actually do an audit of these monies that you splash out? Is there a tangible, some kind of tangible progress to talk about?
The return to investment.
You know, that people's lives have actually been bettered. Because these people know, Museveni is giving us money because he wants us to vote for him. Then there are those who belong to the NRM who will say, Museveni is appreciating us. You guys run the stories. I was seeing them here. When Nabanja, you know, with that money and so on, as they were giving out the money to say, it is for the pecuniary people, the poor people.
Yes.
It was received by NRM leaders and so on. And they said, but we have worked a lot for Mzee. We should also be appreciated. And that's how this money gets to be perceived. And that's why there's a very small percentage of those who get to tangibly benefit, whether it be business or whatever. And that's why they keep doing the same thing. Because you see, Albert Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So when you keep throwing money at people, Honorable Tayebwa, and there's no, you're a businessman, you should actually be helping government, Thomas, to say, you know what? You don't just get money and give this one 50,000, another 50, 50, 10. What's that money going to do for them? Can we begin to give people a hand up? What are the bigger things that people are interested in? People are struggling with taxes, for example.
What would be the alternative way to address this? I have started to
give you, you know, that business people want a hand up, not just a handout. You know, then there's a place for handout. The challenge, of course, usually is that handouts are given to some and not to others. There's a way we treat, for example, foreign investors in this country. I am not against foreign investors. I would love them to come, invest here and so on, but we give them a red carpet, we give them land, we give them tax holidays, some for as long as 20, 25 years, tax holiday. Of late, we are guaranteeing them money. Remember the Loboa hospital saga? But now, what kind of investor are you if we are giving you money? Pretty much, you know. But the Ugandan investors, small as they are, what are we doing for them? Look at what China is doing. China has grown to become the second most powerful country politically, financially, especially, and so on. Because they have focused on those SMEs, people who have small factories in their garages, to say, let's incentivize these people. Let's lessen the taxes on them. Let's see how we help them to access market and so on. Not just getting 50,000. You say you come together as a group. 50 people come together, then you give them 10 million. They immediately share. This one goes and pays rent. The other marries another woman. The other sorts out their immediate issue. And within a month, that money has disappeared. Can we begin to give people a hand up, economically speaking? Because that's very important.
But Joel, you know? Now, what I would expect you as a leader to do is very simple. Whether you've called it a handout, a hand up, or what. What I would expect you to do is to go look at the beneficiaries in your area. And you say, you people, you have received this money from government. Don't misuse it.
No, but you see, that's the point I'm saying.
And that's what I'm doing in my area.
You see,
I'm doing it in my area. Is it a question of mindset for our populace?
Yes, of course it is.
You see, the whole idea.
So it's up to you how you take it. The moment you interpret it as money from 7-Up, immediately you demonize it and what? Then you
no, actually the recipients are the ones saying that.
Then you won't have the more.
Let him finish.
We are being appreciated.
No, I was just advising.
You see, for me, the challenge I have.
Look at it positively.
You're protected. Honorable Tayebwa, let him finalize.
The challenge I have with this government is they will recruit. I think that this guy has an incredible brain. You know? And maybe that's why he once belonged to the opposition. And then he crossed over. Thomas here, I call him Thomas because you know,
we are brothers.
He's a very successful businessman. He knows the principles of business. But either they will not listen to him, or he even fears to share practical stuff that can be done for this economy with his boss.
Okay.
Thomas, you know that you cannot just get a group of, say, 50 people and say, let's give you 10 million, go and prosper. But how? You're giving this money to young people. They'll go and buy, you know, new clothes, new shoes, because they're going to split that 10 million, whatever the case might be, and each will get 200,000. But can we look at the bigger picture? Can we look at the economy? How do we get to fix it? I don't know a country. You can tell me. I don't know a country that among those that have prospered, where they just kept giving out handouts. Because even in this case, it shows we have given out all these handouts all these years. People run out with the money and they say, there were challenges with youth livelihood. I was sitting here in the media, and I remember hosting the PS at the time. I think it was Parish Dilimana. And he said, you know, there's many people that have run out with this money. I said, so what are you going to do them? Are you going to arrest them? You see, you know, because many of these are supporters of the regime, even though when they are not, they will say, for us, we are being appreciated. Because of the principle, you have not even trained people, you're throwing money at them. Can we fix these things tangibly? Can we you see, when we talk about having feasible a country that works for you, I was talking about the foreign versus the local investors. There's a gentleman called Sembule. I don't know how old you are, Andrew, but I'm sure you remember.
Very devastating.
Electronics and so on, homegrown company. The man's company collapsed. He tried to reach out to government to say, please bail me out, please, you know. That did not get to happen. Sembule was hiring many Ugandans. When you help Sembule, you are helping so many Ugandans. And I'm not saying, because you see now the challenge is they'll pick their own people, give this one money and so on. No. Can we make sure that money ultimately is not just going to Andrew?
Like it's structured, whoever applies and qualifies.
His business, how many Ugandans are benefiting out of that, you know? And so that's important, because now we are still talking the economy. You know, I made a statement and I said COVID-19 has been used a great deal by people who were brigands. Remember I told you the level.
Very big.
So there are thieves.
And choice of words. There are thugs.
Then there are thugs.
I think he visited.
Then there are robbers. Then there are brigands. They're at another level altogether.
You visited Honorable Bid over Christmas?
Maybe they had a chat. So at that level,
people have used COVID-19 to steal plenty of money. Plenty of money. We are auditing things and unearthing all these things. Before we got on air, I was telling Honorable Tayebwa here, I bump into him every once in a while in Parliament. And I say, Honorable Tayebwa, I hear you speak the right things, whether it be on the floor or on shows here. He speaks like he has a passion for this country to get better. I don't know whether that's the reality.
Do you dispute that?
You know, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I like what I hear him say. I see a young man. This guy here should not deceive me. who seems to want his country to work, because that's what he was fighting for when he was in the FDC for a very long time. You know, now he crossed over, and I still see the hunger. You know, but I don't know whether there is a nexus between what people like him say and the reality. One of the things I keep telling him when I bump into him in Parliament, I say, you know, we are doing this audit. Are you guys going to take action against these thieves? We unearthed them, the Nabanja money. Has action been taken?
Now, that brings me to this
we
question.
are unearthing a lot more. I have met thieves as we in my team,
and at that level.
And so on. But are they going to take action? You know, when Tayebwa says that, you know what, yes, we are going to do everything you can, you shall fight corruption and so on. Does that actually translate into action? Because if it does not,
then there is no work done.
Maybe, Andrew, just to...
Honorable Tayebwa, before you respond to that, the other day we ran a story here in the Daily Monitor, Truth Every Day, where the president was cautioning the IGG to go slow on some people, and the statements that was quoted, I'm sure you actually saw the statement that was quoted, with the fight against corruption, and the reports is alluding to how strong is the political will to, you know, to deal with corruption in this country.
You see, the audits which Joel is talking about are done by government.
But he's the chairperson of the COSAS and he follows up all this.
Listen to me. He processes government reports from the Auditor General.
Yeah, the Auditor General, gives you a key. Now, what we do is to open and remove and unearth what is there. Otherwise, then we wouldn't.
And you make sense of the data.
The Auditor General is appointed by government. Okay? So I know, like on COVID, I think 316 billion from the Auditor General's report, of which he thinks was mismanaged. And I've made one promise to Joel, and I just want to repeat it here. I have received many assignments from the president, but he has not given me an assignment to go and help any of the people who are demanded to make accountability. And I've told Joel, I've said, Joel, my brother, Chairman Kosase, I give you this guarantee that no single government official, okay, who must account, who has not accounted as per the Auditor General's report, will come to the Chief Whip to say mobilize for me against Kosase.
Protection.
No, I've told him. I told him, and the time I made that call to him, he had not called me. But I made a call to him to give him that assurance that we are going to support him as the Chairman Kosase to help us unearth the rot.
Within.
Okay? Within. To go into details of the Auditor General's report. Now, what he asked about the action and all that, there's what we call a treasury memoranda, which we are supposed to give on every parliamentary resolution. I promise you, process reports, let them come on the floor, let them be debated, and we shall provide the treasury memoranda, which will entail the action taken in relation to the recommendations.
Okay.
Andrew, you're probably wondering why I laughed in a minute.
In a minute, indeed.
Yeah.
It's not so much because I don't believe what he's saying. I don't know if he believes what he's saying. But you see,
why
like
don't you believe what he's saying?
No, I'm actually saying it is not because I don't believe what he's
some
saying.
Some have already come to me.
Because it's possible.
Yes, what do you believe? What do you think is going to hamper
just listen to me. It's possible that Bambi, Honorable Tayebwa, you notice I'm even adding the word Bambi, that for him, he means well.
Yes.
But he's on a head-banging project. I'll tell you why. So I was still here in the media, and as NMG, NTV, Monitor, we interviewed the then IGG, Justice Irene Mulyagonja. And we asked her and said, you see, most of your reports, you're going after the small fish. What happens to the big fish? Where are they? Because loads of money
the big boys
get stolen. And Irene Mulyagonja, a very candid woman,
on record,
told us, you see, whenever I go for the big fish, I find them hiding behind the president. That's on record. I'm sure if you go to the NTV library, those recordings are there. If you go to Daily Monitor and so on. Now, recently, we were marking Anti-Corruption Day as a country. You know, Mr. Museveni, it's just that people don't, either they don't follow what he's saying and so on. The man actually speaks out what is on the inside of him. You know, the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
The mouth speaks, yes.
The IGG was saying, now, these corrupt people and so on. And Mr. Museveni came to give his address as the final speaker, and he said, IGG, you calm down. Don't overbother these corrupt people. After all, they're investing here. They're building shopping malls, arcades. I don't know what. That's what he calls investment. He told her live on camera. You know what Irene Mulyagonja told us during her reign? This one, Mr. Museveni said it publicly for all of you to see. You know that there are many of these people who are untouchable. I'll tell you, you know, as I've been doing, together with my committee, Kosase work, for 2.5 months, by the way, because there's a challenge we had, we couldn't start work. Somebody was fighting and fighting. But anyhow, eventually we started work. So what we've been able to unearth, 2 entities so far. Uganda Civil Aviation Authority and Uganda Railways Corporation, and we are still unearthing. The IGG wrote to me as chairperson of Kosase and said, and some media houses have run that story of scene, said, so Honorable Ssenyonyi, your committee, we've been seeing you unearthing all these different things, you know. Please give us all those documents that you have in your possession, you know, so that we can follow up this matter. The State House Anti-Corruption Unit, headed by Afande Kalema, reached out to me as well with the same request. So I wrote back to these fellows and I told them, for starters, I was wondering, where have you been? Because some of these things date back to 10 years ago. URC land that was sold to powerful people and that money never reached the URC accounts. Some of it is 2010. Where have you been? But most importantly, I told them, for starters, I'm warning you, I don't want you to interfere with our investigations.
You felt...
I don't want you to interfere with the investigations of Parliament through Kosase. If you are serious about acting, wait for our report. Let us do our work. When we finish our report, it's going to be available to the executive. And that's IGG take it on and so on. My worry actually was that IGG and Nakalema's team wanted to take over and kill these cases, because that's what Mr. Museveni told them. You know, these people. That's what he said.
Please.
But it's on record. You guys run the story here. He told the IGG that don't overbother. After all, they are investing here, and that's why I wrote back to the IGG.
The letters came
and
after
I
the president's utterances,
you know, and I said, you know what? Go and carry on your investigations. I am not an officer.
When you're done with the
IGG.
report, they will
So you
take
cannot
action.
ask me to give you all the information that I have so that you investigate, because one that's interfering with Parliament work. So I warned them, I told them,
Not to come
please
back.
do not
I
write
think-
back
I
to
think
me.
Andrew
Wait
Watt-
for the report.
I think
If you're serious,
Comrades.
you will act upon it.
Comrades,
I think Andrew Watt has to be very clear.
we are going to take a break and we're
very
going to
simple.
return. This is On the Spot. I have Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, the government chief whip, and I have Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi. We're looking around the events around this year for the country, politically, economically, and socially, what we need to take in 2022 as lessons. We'll take a break and be back shortly. It's On the Spot. I'm Andrew Chamagran. We're live from Kampala Serena Conference Center. This is the last On the Spot in the year 2021. With me in studio, I have the government chief whip, Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, and I have the NUP spokesperson, also doubles as the chairperson of COSAS in Parliament, Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi, doubling as well as the Member of Parliament for Nakar West. Those on Twitter, the hashtag is NTV On the Spot. I see a little bit of your feedback, and I'm going to try to tap into it. A couple of you are asking a question here. Tugema says he's live in Mbarara. Mateo Aaron. Let's be a little bit civil. The choice of words you're using online, let's be a little bit civilized there. Someone says, when all these called them yogas, sijui prosperity for all things reaching Busia, especially my small village, they never come through. And Black Child on Twitter says, Ssenyonyi, what happens after the investigations by COSAS conclude? It seems to me like they are mere backing dogs with no action to follow up on their findings. Sadly, this translates to wastage of taxpayers' money. And he goes on and on and on and on.
That's a very critical question.
What happens after
and that's a
reports?
question that I first asked myself when I was
Appointed.
appointed into this office. But you see, I determined, together with my committee, let's do our work. Let's execute our mandate. Our mandate is very clear, obtrusively clear. Yeah, let's unearth these things, and that's step number one. Because sometimes you talk about corruption, and there are people in government who say, you are just making noise. Now here is hard facts. I am showing you that these guys are actually thugs. They are brigands.
So
and
what
here is
happens after that?
You know, that we begin to unearth them, and eventually we make recommendations. I actually wish that as a committee we had a lot more power. I wish we had power to arrest, for example. Chitalia would not be full of NUP supporters because they are there simply because they support NUP. They've committed no offense.
Yes.
They are there since last year.
We're coming to
It
that.
would not be Segirinya and Sewanyana in jail. These thieves are the ones that would be putting
Honorable Tayebwa, you wanted to respond
let me
to
finish this because that's a very important question, you know. So,
After your report.
I wish that we had a lot more power. We don't. Our power is to, and our mandate,
Recommend.
let's investigate. And it's also important that you do a good investigation. And you have that on record. That someday, we shall have a serious load in power that will
And
say,
you refer to that report.
let's act on these things, you know. So it's also important that we do a good job. And we are trying to do that. We're not perfect, but we are trying to make sure, unearth and so on, have that on record. And then we put Tayebwa and his team to task
Honorable
to say,
Tayebwa.
here are recommendations. As the executive, you have been saying, are you serious about acting on corruption and so on? Here,
Up to this.
are you going to act on these things?
Honorable Tayebwa,
Because
these
if you're to
reports are
ask,
given
you know,
to you. What is the political will like to act?
Number one, to begin with, for this parliament, we haven't received any report, so they are still processing.
Now, I'm giving you a history of reports that even the last parliament you were part of. You remember reports where put on the floor?
Just
They were
let me
not
come.
acted
I
on.
think it's important for the public not to be hard on Joel.
Yeah.
That,
No, but they're asking good questions.
But those are
yes,
critical
yes,
questions. You
yes.
need to know the action.
No, just listen. Because Joel has to work in a structured manner.
Yeah.
We have rules. He doesn't make sub-reports. No, he makes a comprehensive report. So someone might say, now you finished the issue of Uganda Railways, it has died. What has happened? Okay, has government taken action? No, we wait for a comprehensive report, which Joel and team will present on the floor of Parliament. We have a comprehensive debate on that report. Once it's adopted by Parliament, then government will go and take action. In 6 months,
And
we shall bring what we shall
in
call...
just 30 seconds, if you'll allow me, that's actually the biggest concern of many Ugandans, even this one, you know, because they've been following these things. You were
We need to see action.
You were in the 10th Parliament, I was not. Reports were tabled. You allowed me to give you this information so that you can respond. Reports were tabled, the 10th Parliament where you were, and all the others, you know. And people are saying, but where is the action on these things? And that's the critical, that's the crux of the matter. That Ssenyonyi and his Kosase team are doing their work, they will unearth all
the
this
previous reports in
grand
action.
theft and so on. Are you going to take
you
action
see,
when your boss is telling the IGG, no, don't disturb
Let him
corrupt
respond.
people?
You see,
After all, they are building shopping
Joel,
malls and that.
you see, there is a tendency of wanting to blame everything, even our own failures as an institution. Parliament, when government tables a treasury memoranda, that treasury memoranda can go back to an accountability committee. Then you go through and you reopen. So if you feel we haven't done enough, look for the treasury
And actually,
memoranda.
the challenge is many times the treasury memoranda
You look for the
are not
treasury
put in
memoranda
place.
we have presented, okay? And then you go through, you look at areas we didn't address, and you reopen them.
Okay.
So I don't want us to blame government in any way for a failure to do our work perfectly. What we promise Joel and team is that we shall give you all the necessary support for you to do your work.
Okay.
We shall not interfere.
No, we are
Coming-
doing our job.
Coming
What we are
back
saying
to
is arrest the thieves,
gentlemen,
prosecute
But
them.
you see,
Gentlemen.
just allow me to say this. Joel, what you are doing in your committee, okay, is not yet a final position of Parliament.
Without a doubt.
It's a preliminary position. Now, if you want...
When the reports will be given.
If you want government to go and arrest, no, we can't.
No, we are preparing you to
can't.
say we are going to
Yes,
avail this
then
report.
first finish.
Okay,
Because
when
this
we cross the
report
bridge,
has
we
been
shall
availed
get there.
before.
First finish.
Gentlemen,
I don't know why you're doubting.
Gentlemen.
You're doubting what you're doing.
don't,
you
Joel,
yourself,
Joel,
you're doubting
Once
what
bitten,
you're
kindly
doing.
twice
don't
shy.
doubt Thomas. He's not a doubting Thomas.
No, actually, I can't doubt Thomas because the problem is not him, it's bigger than him.
Let's come back
His
here.
boss has no
is-
problem with
there is a
corruption.
question here. NUP, there is a question, why has NUP failed to push hard for accountability and justice for their kidnapped and missing and those killed members, as well as compensation for those who are murdered? The BBC produced an investigative story, I'm sure you actually watched it, where they said the 3 were murdered in Kampala. The Daily Monitor carried part of that story, and the state was very, very bitter with the Daily Monitor. With all that, where are the names are not visible, the IGP can be sued to produce details of his officers to take accountability. The NUP has not pushed so much for this. Why?
Is that so? Do you actually believe that?
I believe so. The vibe went down.
Where have you been? Anyway, some things are clear. As about 7 for the blind to see, but that's metaphoric. We have and we continue to insist on, you see, and that's the challenge. When you've been battered so hard, you know that our people have been battered so hard, yeah, and they feel despondent. They are in a state of disconsolateness. They are inconsolable. They, you know, and so I was coming from somewhere, and then somebody who belongs to the NRM, you know, are saying, you see, Bobby Wine, you take, you know, I was talking about Yasin Kauma in Arua, for example. First, you see, Bobby Wine took Yasin Kauma to Arua to be killed. And I said, but you, man, you belong to the NRM. Your party chairman, Mr. Museveni, went on TV and he acknowledged he killed Yasin Kauma. In fact, he even said his soldiers did a good job in Arua, beating the Chagulanyis and killing Yasin Kauma. Why not pointing the guns at Mr. Museveni? Today, 30th December, is exactly 1 year since Zebra Ssenyonyi Mando was killed. Military folks raided his house and they gunned the man down. Mr. Museveni went on TV on 31st and he acknowledged, admitted that it is his boys that went and killed Zebra Mando to date. And Tayebwa can challenge that. Not even a single person has been arrested. What Mr. Museveni did was to send some money, I think about 10 million, you know, to the family. It's as if to say, we can kill you and then we shall give something small to your family and life goes on. But anyhow, we we have and continue to engage all gears, you know. We have brought these names before Parliament. We have engaged in the media. We have even engaged internationally. Andrew, I should tell you, whenever you see these sanctions, they don't just come out of the blue when people are targeted.
There is pressure.
Because we know what Kandiho did all the way from Arua. And so we keep going after those people. Here in the local courts, we have a myriad of cases that we have filed. Our lawyers have been extremely busy this past year. But we say, no, we shall not stop here. We shall engage internationally, go to those international courts and platforms and use all those spaces. You know, so whenever people see these sanctions against Kaihura, who meted out and told suffering on people, Kandiho and all the others, you know, and the ICC, the Mohozis and so on, it's because we are not asleep. You know, and it's not just us, but people that we keep encouraging and that are supporting this cause to say, you know what, a human being cannot just be killed, and then we move on. You know, Thomas, in regard, and for me, this it should go beyond the boundaries of our political parties.
Yeah, it's a national issue.
That when somebody is killed in cold blood, somebody has got to be held accountable. That does not happen. We move on. It should cease to be, and for those who are saying it's just an NUP thing, no, it should not be. Andrew, you know, we were in this election, which was like a military operation, and it's not just NUP supporters, as we think of them, that suffered. You guys in the media, they're now beating you like they're beating snakes, simply for doing your job. You're not NUP supporters. Maybe some of you are. There's no crime about that. But you go to do your job, and they beat you up. We went to the UN Human Rights Office, and we got in, and the media was waiting out there with their cameras, tags, and so on. Some drunk had called Napoleon. I'm sure he was high at the time or something. Descended on these journalists with his drunkard military men, and they beat up journalists. So bad, I saw many of them walking on crutches into their newsrooms the following day. They were simply there to do their job. And so my point here is that this should cease to be just NUP. NUP will play its part, and we're not perfect. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say we are doing everything that we must do perfectly. No. But what are you doing, you? What are you doing as a journalist to see that our country gets better, to see that you, a journalist, can do your job without being beaten, without being killed, because it's your right to do your work. You know, everybody is suffering in their own way, because sometimes we narrow this debate to say NUP. No, can we broaden it? Where you are, what are you doing about this situation? Because you're affected too. Okay. You know, I called some of these journalists because some of them had been interviewing me, and some you would see the skewed way of asking questions, and so I called them. Of course, said sorry to them, and I told them, you see, you were treated this way, not because you are an NUP supporter, but because we have bad leaders that are in charge. Okay. And so we all must do something to say, no, leadership must be sane. We must have leaders who value life.
There is something, all Joel is alluding to is the human rights and violations that have actually gone down. The government spy master, Abel Kandiho, was sanctioned towards the end of the year for gross human rights violations and disruption of democracy. Honorable Tayebwa, I want to understand, has NRM lost the human rights battle? And we want to understand what are the internal mechanisms is the party using for fighting impunity against the ones who are doing this in the party, or in the regime?
The first clarification I want to make, and I think Joel, as a journalist, he read the archives of our former leader, Obote. And I've talked to many people in opposition. There is one thing which most of them agree with. I haven't shared this much with Joel, but many. Museveni does not tolerate murder.
But Thomas,
now,
honestly,
the
man went on TV and he
allow
what
me,
happened.
Joel, allow him to submit, then you
allow me. And by the way,
you're protected, Honorable.
By the way, attacking a convoy of the president, you know, it's treason.
So who
without any doubt.
Have you ever
but
found them?
What one important thing I just want to repeat.
A bulletproof car, and he was hit with a stone.
Very simple.
Cracked.
Museveni does not tolerate murder. I've not even used the word president or what. I've used him as an individual. We have overzealous people. That one is agreed.
So why doesn't he take action against the murderers?
We've had many situations, you know. I can tell you this. We might be weak in our investigations. We might be what? But nothing is sanctioned by the head of state.
But
the way they would want portrayed.
In Arua, he applauded
Number
his
two.
soldiers for doing what they did.
Number
so
two.
he sent them.
Number two, I want to give you advice, Joel. Just free advice. Because I've seen you priding yourself.
If it is good, I might give you some money.
Priding yourself.
Joel, allow him.
Yes, I've seen you priding yourself in these sanctions going around. If you want Ugandans to trust you as a party, please stop being agents of foreign governments.
Now, that brings me to...
Your government gets more money from America, from Europe.
That money treats you.
Joel.
No, that money treats Joel. That money treats Joel.
Money from America and Europe is what is holding together your government.
And let me repeat it. Please stop priding yourself
that's
in being agents.
Honorable Tayebwa,
and I'll tell you why.
Let me ask.
Of foreign governments.
Honorable Tayebwa, I want to know, do you believe that NUP...
Putting sanctions on Kanduho, on Kaihura, will not take NUP power. We've met some of them in corridors. They say, you Tayebwa, be cautious. They will put sanctions on you. Please, come on.
So, Honorable Tayebwa, do you think...
if that's a trick now being used,
okay,
to deflect... No, to deflect...
sanctions don't bite, why?
Joel.
Why? No, I'm concerned. I'm concerned seeing a brother...
I love your concern.
A brother like Joel, okay, priding himself in saying they are the ones who helped put sanctions on Kanye.
So,
Honorable Tayebwa,
Museveni took Joseph Kony to ICC.
Joel.
Is he an agent of foreigners?
Gentlemen.
No, Thomas, Museveni single-handedly went to the ICC to report Joseph Kony. Do you remember that? That time I think you were still in opposition. Do you remember? So is he a foreign agent? So, because he's the one in charge here. But he said no, even Ugandan courts...
No, so you're comparing Kandho to Kony? Joel, do you know you sleep in Kampala because of what Kandho is doing?
But you see, the point I'm making is Museveni went to the ICC.
The streets of
this is somebody who is in charge here.
Gentlemen.
But he ran to ICC.
Do you know you drive around Kampala at 3 a.m. because Kandho does not sleep?
You're avoiding my question.
Listen,
Thomas, you're avoiding my question.
Okay, I think I need to take a break for now because
you said when we go to ICC,
both of you have failed to agree on that.
Museveni took Joseph Kony.
Joel
to the ICC.
You're putting your colleagues,
Americans and Museveni reported
Joel,
to ICC.
Honorable Tayebwa.
Now I've known why
Honorable Tayebwa. I have one question. I have one question for you.
Ask him that question.
Do you believe that the opposition is being used by external forces?
Of course it is. He's here. He has told you.
How do you prove
so
that?
Museveni is being used by external forces because
he has told you. He's the one issuing lists of who to put on sanctions. He has told you. He has told you he has succeeded on Kand. He has succeeded on Kaihura.
We're going after others.
He's coming for more.
And they're cautioning you to be careful.
The same way Museveni went to ICC.
And that's the way they will take over power in Uganda.
Now,
so I wish them well.
Now that brings me to the other question. We have had the civic space suffocated for this one last year. NGOs and CSOs that were drumming for the human rights and all that, some of them are still closed under the DGF issue. We hear the talks behind the doors to make sure that this comes back to light, that it can go back in operation. When we come all this, we need to know what is the government agenda closing the DGF and the CSOs and
when
the NGOs.
you're in charge of a country, you see the difference between opposition and government is that you're in charge, you take responsibility for the country. Okay? All this money that was going into the country, that was coming into the country, some of it were being used for wrong things.
Like which one?
Okay.
Like what?
So some of the activities of DGF and
Like
in the engagements with the government, for which I know we've reached the conclusive stage, they have admitted some of the things. Okay, and they've
NGOs?
agreed. Yes, and they've agreed on a clear modus operandi. For example, they were not allowing government representatives to see what they were doing with this money. You're bringing hundreds of billions in my country. I'm a government, and you don't want me to know what that money is doing. And then when I ask, you say, no, you're suffocating civic space. No. Then if you hear coup the next day, you ask yourself how coups are happening. By the way, you need to ask yourself one thing. In 24 years, okay, I think between 1962 and 1985. Are those 24 years? I think around 24 years.
Close, yeah.
We had 9 presidents and 7 coups in 36 years. Okay? We've not had any single coup, and we've had one government. you need to go take a break, you study how we've managed to achieve that, how Museveni has achieved that, and then you plan well.
About the issue of the NGOs and all, we need to know, as a journalist, I would like to know the hidden agenda to these closed CSOs in Uganda hiding behind the compliance issue and refusal to appoint the board
It's
of
not
the
hiding
bureau.
behind. They were not compliant.
The committees, we don't have the board of directors of the bureau, but the NGO bureau.
Now we have it. Now we have it, and by the way, most of them have been cleared. Most of them have been cleared. Those ones who had not been compliant, they are clearing the issues. And remember, an NGO like Give Directly, now it has been cleared. It's working, you know, because you see, when you go deep, when you get the privilege of reading the security reports on what some of these NGOs were doing, you really wonder. You say
what? You tell the public,
you say,
otherwise then
is
say,
this information
propaganda?
Of course,
Thomas,
Joel,
is it the information good for the public?
Joel, I access information which is for the public and that which is not for the
So
public.
you now,
So
that
when
which is
I'm
for the
here,
public, you give
when
it.
I'm here speaking, I sieve because I have categories of information.
But you see,
I have secrets.
Thomas,
I have
if you say,
confidential, like in Noop,
I have arrested,
like I know, even your government in Noop,
you have arrested,
I know there
Some
is
information is
information.
certified
and
for
you
Noop.
can't give reasons why you have arrested
I
him.
know there is information from Noop, which Joe, the spokesperson, cannot say here. I have some which he can say here. We have some which he can say in meetings.
But this is not about political parties.
I can tell you,
This is about our country.
most NGO issues.
So they are going to be open.
And most of them are already cleared. They are already cleared.
Let me
But
say
what
something
we've
about
done,
this.
The guest chair, the
what
guest
we've
chair.
done, we are not going to repeat mistakes that we allowed happen of NGOs operating and going beyond their mandate.
What do you
When
mean
you
by
are an
that?
NGO, each NGO has its own mandate. You have your license, you have your conditions. Please stick to that.
Give us an example of an NGO which went beyond its mandate.
And DGF.
Exactly what did they
DGF is
do?
a pool.
You know
was
what you are
beyond
doing
their
with
mandate.
it.
Honorable Tayebwa.
You know what Noop was doing with it.
Honorable Tayebwa, DGF is a pool
No,
of funds.
I'm telling
See,
you.
that's the propaganda. You ask
Listen,
someone a question,
I'm telling him,
they can't
he
explain.
knows what they were doing with
What
DGF.
is that we are
Honorable
doing?
Tayebwa,
Who cried when we crossed DGF? Who cried?
of course there were CSOs,
who
especially in
cried?
governance
It's their
issues.
team.
The CCG was one of those
no.
that came through to defend
No,
these
who
who
cried? It's their team mainly.
You see, Andrew,
Andrew, we are here, but they know.
one of
we
the
need one
things.
NGO, you tell us that this NGO was operating this, it was operating beyond its mandate.
Give directly.
It was beyond its mandate.
Andrew,
Give directly.
um,
Okay? No, I've given you
on
clear
this
NDA.
issue of
Give directly.
civil society organizations,
And the civic spaces.
you see, the way Mr. Museveni operates, and Thomas is yet to learn it because he was in opposition. Now he has joined NRM. He's still trying to learn Mr. Museveni.
Funny how fast you've learned him.
I've been in the media for 14 years. That's not a short time. The thing I've seen about this man is that anyone who speaks against his excesses, anybody who challenges him and says this is wrong, he will come after you. Anyone who exposes his excesses, he will come after you. And that's why journalists are being beaten nowadays. You saw them being beaten. Simply because they put their camera and they expose the excesses. For no other reason. They beat them up. And you see the challenge with you journalists also. You know, back in our day, we used to have solidarity. We would say we're not going to cover these guys, and we would refuse to cover them until they capitulate. But nowadays, they call you people's editors to go and play a soccer match with senior military officers. And then they say everything has calmed down. They went and played that match.
I think you've not seen any of those
Three
matches.
days later, other journalists were beaten. Because the issue has not been resolved. But you see, the point is, he will come after you also because you're exposing him. Mr. Museveni has been categorically going after civil society organizations because you hear them speak out against the excesses. To say that, look, no, you don't treat your opponents that way. You have put in place an election, compete fairly. All right? You will have your supporters. The other will have supporters too. Why are you going after them? You know, they will speak against the corruption, the brigandage that's happening in this country. Meanwhile, Mr. Museveni doesn't want you to talk about
but
corruption.
today your language,
And that's why he tells the IGG,
Doesn't
no,
want
calm
the
down,
audience
calm
to
down,
understand.
you know. So when some of these civil society organizations speak against, you know, the corruption and so on, he does not want that. And so they will go after them. And they will say, you see, you get funding from the West, you're agents of the West. And then you ask Thomas, but your government is funded by America. It is funded by Europe.
What does it fund?
A lot more than even these civil society organizations that you are blaming. They give you everything, including guns. And that's some of the things we've been challenging them to say. Some of the guns that you give these people are the ones being used to kill people in the streets. So anyway, the point I'm making here is they'll use everything.
No, Joel, I just wanted to know.
Propaganda. Okay, you can ask them.
I just wanted to know. So you mean you are giving risks of people to put on sanctions to a government which is giving us guns?
So I'll tell you what we are doing.
Because you're saying they are giving us guns to kill you, then you go, you take over, you hand over risks of people to sanction.
No, that's to trivialize it, and it's okay for you. But
no, I'm just asking.
What we are doing is, you see, Uganda is part of the international community. And for that matter, we are accountable to the rest of the world. And there are processes, there are platforms.
The protocols you've signed.
There are institutions, you know. That's why I've taken Muhoozi and others to ICC. The same way Museveni took Joseph Kony to ICC. Because he's saying, no, we go to these platforms, ICC and so on, UN, we are agents of foreign agents.
Governments. ICC is not a government. I've said the government.
No, but you see, because you see,
is not a government. Yes.
So when they do these things,
it's an institution Uganda subscribes
but it is run by government.
No, it's an institution Uganda subscribes to.
There you are.
Okay.
And so the way you get, for example, help from the US, you go running with the begging bowls and say, please help us here. And then we say, you know what? You, for example, giving guns to these guys. Can you actually do an audit? What are these guns doing? Because some of those guns are being used to kill Ugandans. You send them to be used to protect Ugandans.
So you trigger the funder to audit?
To kill people instead of protecting them. Can you keep an eye on that issue?
Andrew,
you know, and that's important. When you do that, then they say, you're foreign agents. But for you, when
Joel and Tim go to government, maybe someone said 100 years, I don't know. I know Joel can't forget.
That's what Obote used to tell Museveni.
We'll get to that later.
Joel can't forget me when he goes into government.
Just in a minute before we take a break.
I'm saying, lucky you won't forget me. Now,
you're not a very bad man. You make you add this.
What you will understand when you see the politics of aid and all that, you will be surprised to find that Museveni doesn't go to USA to ask for aid.
Oh, where does he go?
Surprisingly, there are framework arguments. Okay, these big governments, the Western world, they use aid as a way of also fighting their own geopolitical interests.
So why do you allow it? Why don't you say
now?
No?
We are in a one negotiating with the European Union because they give you an offer. Yeah. They give you an offer.
Many times go
when you look at most of the aid given to Uganda by USA, when you look at the aid mostly given by the USA, it doesn't go to government directly. No way. They give it through the NGOs of the Jowers, the DGF. No, they have very many, aid organizations, and then
so America does not support government of Uganda.
No, it does. It does. I'm saying
most does not support government of Uganda.
No, it does, but I'm saying most.
Because now you're saying
and then
aid that comes
they give accountability.
Joel, can you allow him to submit?
And then, you see, and then they give accountability.
You will rebut him.
And then they give accountability. Like recent on the COVID money for COVID and all that. Yeah. Which they released. I was talking to the Minister of Health. I was like, but I couldn't see this money directly. So they tell you, no, we worked with this NGO, which is very appreciative. But to look like we are surviving on the aid of that government, you're going to be processing the budget, okay? You're going to look at how much aid. It's going to be your first budget. Now, looking deeply, how much money is coming from the US directly for budget support. You will be shocked.
Gentlemen, just a minute. We're taking a break for now. It's still on the spot. It's coming. It's just a few minutes past 11 p.m. The conversation, when we return, we're going to go into the economy and the security of this country. It's on the spot. We'll take a break for now. It is still on the spot. I'm Andrew Chamagero, and in studios with me I have Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi, who happens to be the chairperson of the Kosasa in Parliament and Member of Parliament from Nakawa West, and an NUP spokesperson. Of course, we have the Government Chief Whip, Honorable Thomas Tayebwa. The conversation was heated up before we left. Those on Twitter, We want to appreciate you. Alon Musina says, Joel Ssenyonyi, apart from beating journalists, what other point do you make today? I wonder.
Is that person watching the show?
And another one here.
They are taking something. Maybe some 7 told them I've closed doors from home.
Another one here says that let's allow them to have a civic conversation and then we move forward. But let Tayebwa tell us about who killed Zebra Ssenyonyi and why he told us he knows them. The president then, given that you're the government chief whip, tell us how far is that report. All these questions and more, they will actually be responding to them. Honorable Tayebwa, how do we rebound the economy back? People are poor. I'll be honest with you, Honorable. On the ground, you see me, I thrive a lot. That's where I spend most of my time. I use a 20-40 approach. 40 with my Bantuba and 20 with brilliant people, intellectuals like you to understand the sense of this country. People are broke. Yesterday, there is a tweet that came in from Malawi. Their president made subsidies about the oil. I'm sure you're aware of that. And he said we won't have this so that our children can go back after the lockdowns. So children in Malawi will go back to school when they're not worried about their school fees and all. When we come back here in Uganda, every parent you find, they're not even excited about 31st. They're like, tutandikirawa. About the economy, what is government's plan to rebound the entire economy to come back in full swing?
Starting with the issue of education, the president has made it very clear that now we are going to implement UPE and USA in full.
Previously it was partial.
Because you see, the PTAs went ahead. They used the loophole in the law. I think it's around Section 9 of the Education Act. Which allows parent associations to charge money voluntary, voluntary charges for emergency and other operations like infrastructure. So they used that to impose school fees. So we gave UPE, but we were failed. It wasn't free. We were failed by the people in charge on the ground. So the president has been categorical, and I think more guidelines will be coming, very clear, that no more sending away students, pupils in USE and UPE schools because of school fees, because government is taking charge of that. So that one I want to first make it clear. I saw Ugandans celebrating the one of Malawi, but the president has been clear, and very, very soon indeed more statements will come up from the minister and the president. Number 2, on the economy, I agree with you. We are not doing well.
It's bad.
Individually, we are not doing well. But it's not only us. Look at people who are getting aid from abroad, from Americans, from Britain. They tell you our donors no longer send, meaning the situation also is bad. Is bad. It's not a case for Uganda only. But what are we doing? What are we doing? One, and this we shall be scrutinizing in Parliament with Joel and team, all of us. We are looking at the parish development model to be a game changer. We are going to put 1 trillion and 59 billion
before you
next
finish
financial year. The Minister for Local Government has presented the statement in Parliament on the parish development model. What I expect from Joel and team and other members of Parliament is to scrutinize and advise us on how we can make it better.
Let me come in there before you go any further. The parish model, each parish, according to the model.
A dialogue,
No. Because he went there, I want to go deep. Each parish was allocated 30 million shillings.
In this financial year?
Yes.
In this financial
What can a parish do with 30 million shillings?
No, the money we appropriated in this financial year. Government wanted more. Government wanted 450 billion. But Parliament said no, you have not yet put in place systems. So let's give you only 200 billion. You go, you put in place systems. That was the 10th Parliament, which we are now working on. For example, we've recruited around 5,700 parish chiefs because the accounting office at a parish level would be a parish chief. So we had to ensure that all parishes get parish chiefs. We are going to operationalize all the new sub-counties and town councils, which had not been operationalized, all administrative units. We've allocated 29 billion to that, and we've started. So once all that is in place, starting next financial year, 2022-2023, each parish is going to be receiving 100 million. And this will go into parish circle is going to be a revolving fund where people are going to be borrowing it at 6% per annum. Okay? So, and we are going to be doing it every year.
Still
so
about
our target is in 5 years, if we've put around 500 million in each parish, we've availed cheap capital, our people, and we'll be going into businesses. So the parish committee, which will be looking after those funds in that circle, will really do a great job. I hope we need really like a whole show, a whole talk show to discuss parish model.
The parish model.
And I believe once you go deep, and we are encouraging more ideas on how we can make it better. Because this is going to be
when it comes to your structures
for
and who is going to run it,
Yeah.
the ones you're recruiting ideally should be public servants, correct?
Yeah.
But they're going to usurp the powers of LC2, who has the mandate of the people.
No, you see, an LC2 chairperson cannot be an accounting officer. LC2 will be on the committee. But we need an accounting officer who will be a parish chief, whom you can make accountable, whom George's committees, accountability committees, can look into and say, you are personally accountable. You had to ensure that this money is well utilized.
Joel.
But away from the parish model, because you asked on the January.
We will come back to
we
that.
are going to put another 59 billion in an entity which Joel and Tim don't like to hear in yoga next financial year. Number 3, we are not
But
going
before you inject more money in Emyoga, have you taken
we've
the
learned
recommendations
lessons.
to fix?
Yes. Number 3, we are not going to introduce any new taxes. We are not going to introduce any new taxes. What we are going to do, we are going to push for efficiency in revenue collection. We are targeting to have at least tax being 13.5 ratio percent of our GDP. So currently we are around 12.6 tax to GDP ratio. So we are targeting in the medium term to reach around 19.5. And then we pushed around 21. The moment we have a tax to GDP ratio of 21%, then we don't even need to borrow. We would be adding another more than 9 trillion into our coffers. We wouldn't even need to borrow. So we want more Ugandans to pay taxes. Most of these people who abuse us, who are abusing us on Twitter, abusing Museveni every day, you haven't.
But you see, they pay the taxes, but they don't say how the taxes are working. Let's come to the CBR from the central bank.
Yeah.
The rate, the rate of the loans.
Yeah.
Have you seen the rates?
Yeah, I think now it's at 6%. CBR for the CBR.
Yes. Now, when you come to the commercial banks, have you seen how bad
the
you're working?
commercial banks, yes. And I think this is a conversation we need to continue having. I was having that conversation with the MD of Stanbic Bank. I've shared it with one of Housing Finance and one of DFCU. We need to look into this deeply. But we wouldn't want to interfere. You see, Kenya tried it. They had a private members bill where they were fixing the rates. It failed. They found they were killing the economy. But if we do interventions, for example, Stanbic Bank is giving 100 billion to match the parish development model, and it will be lending it at 10%. So meaning if it can lend at 10% to the parish circles under parish development model, then it means there is a possibility of engaging.
Okay.
Now, when you go to this recovery fund, Pride Microfinance, Housing Finance Bank, and Posta Bank, they've provided 100 billion to match what we give, and they are lending it at 10%. So it's the engagement, the conversation, and we've told them, you have to know your Ugandans. You banks, you will only grow if Uganda as a country grows.
When these percentages go beyond that, I'll call you here and we'll have that conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Joel Ssenyonyi, because you're the alternative government here now, how do we rebound our economy back? But before you give me that, what is your comment on the parish model?
The other one was reopening the economy.
We are going to get back to that. Honorable Ssenyonyi, the parish model.
You see,
is it a silver bullet?
One of the other challenges really that we have in this country is we shoot first and aim later. You know, touch here, try this, try the other, you know, it goofs up, try this. You don't even do an evaluation. You keep jumping from one slogan, from one project to another, you know, Kurembeka, then I don't know, youth livelihood, prosperity for a few, which they called for all. Emioga has so many issues with Emioga. Before you even deal with it, you jump to now parish model. As you're dealing with that, you say, hey, Emioga, okay, let's come back a bit. Because the idea is, let's just throw money at people. But what is all these billions of shillings over the years that we have been throwing at these young people, women, and so on? Tangibly, what has it done? And those are the handouts that I'm talking about.
Okay.
We should focus a lot more on a hand up. Because, so you asked him a question, that you're giving 30 million shillings
Per parish.
to a parish. I don't know. Maybe in his constituency probably has a sparse population. Huh? So you find the parish might have a few hundreds of people. A parish in my constituency, actually a village in my constituency, in many constituencies, you know, urban and so on.
But he said the Parliament approved more money.
We are doing a special package for them.
The votes that
Special package.
the votes that Honorable Tayebwa needs to win is what a councillor LC3 in my constituency needs to win. And so we need to be serious about these things. So when you say, yes, parish model, we are throwing 30 million shillings at this parish, what's the plan? What is the 30 million shillings going to do exactly? How do we track to be sure that there is value for these 30 million shillings? Who is getting it? What are they using it for? How have we planned to see that, okay, we are giving money to Andrew, what is he doing currently? So what are we injecting money into? If not, what kind of training is he getting to see that this money is put to very good use? Otherwise, Andrew is going to get this money and go and drink with his friends. That's what happens. And that's why we keep, every other time, we keep jumping from one thing to another. That one also fails.
So alternatively, what could be the best model here?
I think for me, the idea of saying, let's just give money to people, and the people also know that, this money, this is our money. You know, this is our money, these people in government, they are eating, you know, so now this is ours, and they run with it, and you will not even ask them to account for it. You know that your government has struggled to bring to book young people with youth livelihood.
And we need an alternative now.
The point that I've been talking about, you know, and I will re-emphasize, is a hand up, not a handout. And how I'm explaining a hand up. But where have you been? Okay, I'll reiterate.
Break it down for my viewer. At least you meet Tayebwa every day.
The example of China. It's not a perfect example. But there are things that they have done that have gotten them to where they are, to become the second biggest economy in this country. They have said, let's focus on these SMEs, not just giving them handouts. Because, like I said, if you say now, organize yourselves in a group of 50, we give you 10 million shillings. And that's the other challenge, you know. People immediately form a group there and then quickly register it. And after they don't know much about each other. They say, has the Kamane come, chairman of the group? For all of us, give us our cut. They'll run with the money and use it for whatever they want to do. Many of these SMEs are saying, can you deal with the issue of taxation? It's breaking them down. Incentivize them. You put the question to him about, because he was saying that there are many people who don't pay taxes. Are you serious, Thomas? Everyone in this country pays taxes. There's such a thing as direct taxes, indirect taxes.
And all.
Of course, there are those who don't pay their fair share, you know, for different reasons. But everybody pays the tax. Ugandans keep complaining about the heavy taxes they pay because they do not see much value for their taxes. You have traveled, you've been to Europe. There are countries in Europe where people pay 50 to even 60% of their incomes, taxes. And they don't complain. You know why? Because when they go to hospital, they'll be attended to.
The services.
State-of-the-art healthcare, free of charge. When they take their children to school, they'll get quality education. Infrastructure is well fixed. The economy works, you know, and all of that. But here, somebody will pay 30% of their tax, you know, of their paycheck. But then when they go to a government health center, there's no doctor. The nurse who's there has been working for 48 hours non-stop. They are tired. They don't have stuff to use, PPEs and whatever else. And so now this person has to go to a private clinic and fork out a lot more money. They will not take their children to a UPE school because that UPE school is quantity education as opposed to quality education.
Okay.
And that's why you find children who are in P7, there's a group called Wezo, they did a survey some time back. You find children in P7 cannot do P2 work. Why? Because it is quantity, just go through quickly, but where is the quality? So this person has to take their child to a private school and fork out money in addition to paying taxes and so on. And so they're saying, wait a minute, where's the value for our tax money? So can we incentivize people? That's very important.
I think I need to commend government when it gets to investors. There is the 30% land for the investors that has been already operationalized for the local investors, that they can get land from the industrial parks, the 30% of the land for the investors and all that.
And more industrial parks open.
And more industrial parks. But when it gets to his pain is with the taxes.
I want to, that's one of them.
The taxes.
Now that you've talked about industrial parks, I want to interest you as a journalist, perhaps even as a media house. Interest yourselves. You go and do a story about pick any industrial park you want. Go and find out what's happening there. That's an incredible story to do.
I will follow that.
And then you'll tell Ugandans what is there. Because you see, you keep hearing government officials talking about industrial parks, and they make it seem like now,
of course,
we
I will
have
get
a magic bullet of sorts.
And I'll get Tayebwa on that.
Go there.
So alternatively, you're saying that let's have the taxes.
So that's one of the issues that we need to fix. Yeah?
Okay. Let's
when I want again to re-emphasize this question of taxpayer money and how it gets to be utilized. Because like I've said, many people spend a lot of money on services which government should be availing, but it is not availing. And so you find healthcare, education, and a plethora of others, you know, because that's why people pay taxes. But then they will pay taxes, and when they need to access healthcare, they can't. There's now need to get money. It has run out their disposable income. They need to borrow here and there. All those things affect that person you're calling them Untua once. Their income, you know. And that's the other challenge. We killed cooperatives.
Yeah. We
had such a thing as cooperatives in this country. Oh my goodness. Had the cooperative movement been left to thrive, this country would be far. But you know, poor people are easy to rule. And so when these guys took power, they had to kill those cooperatives.
Okay.
And people got disempowered. Because you see, those cooperatives, we come together, you're producing coffee, and then we say, okay, let's get together. How do we better our yields? You know, how do we access market together? Because Andrew, when you go to the market alone, they will cheat you.
Of course.
But when you speak as one voice, it is solid. Nobody will take us for granted and so on. But you see, these cooperatives have become very powerful. And government does not want that. And they said, we must deal with these things. But I mean, if you're saying you want to empower the people and get them better, cooperatives was such a thing.
Allow them to have the money.
We killed them deliberately. But you're saying, you want people's lives to get better, then you'll put one thing. Well, knowing it will not work. Throw some money at them, you know, then jump onto another, and then, you know, it's such a... I mean, if we're serious about ameliorating the lives of Ugandans, we know the right thing to do. Why don't we do it?
Honorable Tayebwa, that is with the economy. You believe the parish model. He believes in structures that work and having subsidies for local investors. Let's talk security. What is government's strategy in DR Congo? Today I was looking at Major General Kayanja in the forest pursuing the ADF and all that. What is the strategy in Congo? One, we first wanted to build for them roads to make our businesses better and thrive. Then we have the ADF we're running still into Congo. What is our strategy as a country in Congo?
To keep us country secure.
Okay.
Yeah, we know where the problem is coming from, and we've gone for it. That's it.
And how will the war in Congo be funded by Parliament? Because Parliament hasn't approved an expenditure. How are we footing that bill?
Parliament approved expenditure for Ministry of Defense. Okay. Yeah, and that's what we are using. Simple.
Oh.
We have not come for any supplementary. We've not come. You see, the issue of Congo, it's something very, very simple. Okay? The war we are fighting in Congo is beyond Uganda. You all know that an Islamic caliphate was being planned by by ISIS to be established now across the world. You're seeing what is going on in Mozambique. You're seeing what is going on in Central African Republic, in Chad, everywhere. So the fight we are having is beyond Uganda. Now Congo is the base. Okay? So the only way we can protect ourselves and be secure, because when they hit in Komamboga, when they hit at Parliament Avenue, when they hit at CPS, that bomb didn't segregate
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a bomb. Their target is not identity. They have certain interests. I don't know what drives them. They are maybe very crazy guys. I don't know. But most important, the Islamic Caliphate, which they are planning to establish, and they are putting up cells. So Uganda, we have to accept. Either we say we allow ADF and ISIS to control our lives, or to control our security, or we go for it. So they invited us. But what we must also understand is that we are doing a supplementing role. ADF was more of a problem to the Congo government than even us.
Oh.
So Congo government said, come and, and
help.
now it's a problem. Come and support us. So we are going in for that. But on the roads, it was basically for trade. We are looking at trade. But you saw when we got a security problem, our UPDF, the operations were hampered by the roads.
Yeah.
For around 2 weeks, we had first go and construct roads where our equipment and our soldiers could pass to protect us. At least, anyone can dispute anything about what Museveni has achieved and all that. But on the aspect of security of the country and securing our borders, I believe we would all agree. And this is very important. We must protect it. Even Joe's team, when they are coming to government in future, if God blesses them and they come to government in future, they would want a stable country so that they can start off from an angle of the economy, of the things they are talking about. That's why you don't hear them talk about security. Saying security, securing our borders, no. They know that has been done perfectly, and you do it at a cost.
And I want to know then, how will government find the competing priorities of the war in Congo and the economy at home? How are we balancing those? Because
you see,
we are at war at the time when we are very, very limping as an economy.
You cannot have an economy running when you're like Somalia, when bombs are going off around here. I saw all these people the day they bombed us at Parliament Avenue. I saw the people who were sanctioning the candles. I saw them running for their dear lives and taking away their people. Who remained at Parliament Avenue to protect us? No.
It was the UPDF.
Who was first at Parliament Avenue to protect us? It was Kandu. I saw the Kandu who is being sanctioned, running around fragments and all that, coming to protect us. So security of our country is what is important. The rest, economy, what, and the civil rights, what, they will come. The moment bombs are stopped from going off on our streets, then everything is...
Joe, what's your comment on security in this country?
You see, Mr. Museveni used to pride himself in this thing called security, return security to the country. No, he cannot use that anymore and get away with it. Even he
Why?
is afraid to do so because, you know, we tend to imagine that security is the absence of war in the sense of LRA, for example, and that kind of thing. But are Ugandans secure? I was in Masaka just the other day. We had gone for a memorial service for the late Frank Senteza, who was killed by the state. And it's interesting, the tales in that place. People lost lives with Jambia. And these people that talk about security, you know, looked on for about a month as people were being butchered in that area. You cannot tell those people about security. They're thinking, wait a minute.
No, we didn't look on.
For a whole, you know, it took a whole month.
You can say you tried and you are not successful.
The minister of internal affairs and the rest of the team to set foot in that place, a whole month. As we MPs were making noise on the floor of Parliament, as MPs from that region were bringing evidence and so on, these guys were throwing leaflets every single day. And they would say, we are coming to this place, and they would make good of that promise. And then, again, they behaved very childishly. There was an OC, I forget his name, who was arrested from Bukoma Nsimbi. The Parliament Committee on Internal Affairs went to that place. And he was interacting with them and he told them the truth. He said, look, so I'm in charge of a wide area. I have one police truck. Many times it does not have fuel. I can't say, let me fuel it from my own money. I get a small salary. And so he said, many times people call us and they want us to run to their rescue. but I have no way of moving with my men. He was honest with them. What did Jim Mwezi do? He just arrested the man and put him in. Excuse me. Instead of dealing with the issue that this man was raising, to say, can you facilitate us to do our job? And then you say, you focus a great deal on security. I honestly think that what took us to Congo as a country is way beyond security. And you will see, give it a bit of time.
Could you give us some tidbits?
You will see all the skeletons come out. It's not the first time that we have been to Congo under the guise of security. We went there and we looted. And to date, we still have a date on our heads as a country. You know? And then there are, you know, Mr. Museveni likes to think of himself as the big brother in the region. And sometimes he wants to bully people around him. And there are some people who keep telling him, you know, you probably helped us to get into power, but we have grown, we've become our own men. Okay, let us be, and so on. So there's issues with that, you know. Somebody says, okay, I want to exert my influence. Let me
when
be
it gets to
everywhere,
security,
and
Joel,
so
do
on.
we have to zero it only on Museveni as a person? Can we
What do you
look
mean
at the
zeroing it?
structures?
No. When you say what do you mean by zeroing it
Because
down?
you keep referring to Museveni
But
pricing himself.
he's the one in charge, is he not?
We have a government. Can we refer to it as a government?
He's running it.
Running it does not
And he's the one trying to run roughshod over the other people and so on. But you see, and again it takes you back to the other impunity that people will do whatever they want to do and nothing gets to happen. I was telling you about what we did in Congo years ago. The looting that happened and so on. The man has many of those working in his government. No action was taken. Meanwhile, we were sentenced as a country and fined, you know, because these guys went there and stole. So I think that Congo is way beyond security in my view. I hope that we catch the ADF rebels that we say we have gone for. You
really
know?
thank them?
What did you hear me say? I said I hope that we catch these rebels that we say we have gone for. You know,
or else.
Because once bitten, twice shy.
They've already tested our wrath.
Okay.
If you haven't gotten
and you've been in the media long enough, you know that when the army tells you we have killed 10 rebels, it might be one or sometimes none.
Okay.
When they tell you, yes, we have lost some people as the UPDF, and they tell you we have lost 5, it is like 20. You've been in the media long enough.
Let's respond to some of these. Thank you so much, comrades. I really want to appreciate. Honorable Tayebwa, before you leave, there is a question here on Twitter. They're saying, how far has the Rubowa Specialized Hospital gone? Now we are looking at the promises of the government.
Yes. I think the progress has been slow.
Why?
On that hospital.
Why is it slow?
The contractor invoked the force majeure clause, acts of nature, when COVID came in. It's provided for in the contract.
But it was meant to be finished before COVID.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Probably because you are not government.
No. I participated in processing that loan. I was a member of the National Economic Committee, so I know what I'm talking about.
When was that
the contractor was in for just 1 year, then COVID came in. And that was a project of 4 years.
Why did they take long to start? Remember they took long to start?
It was supposed to be for 4 years. So he invoked the force majeure clause, and because of COVID, COVID hit their camp. They had it closed for all that long. But now that we are reopening, I'm sure we are going to resume, and we are going to be doing well.
Okay. Yeah. The other question is about the economy with our region. We have underlying issues with Kenya. Our products have not been going back and forth. The other day, I saw the Minister of Agriculture going to talk to the Minister of Agriculture in Kenya. Isn't it meant to be the Minister of Trade to talk on the other side? Because this is trade we're talking about. Why don't we as a country have economic attaches in the different countries?
No, we have on that one.
But we have security attaches.
Yes, on that one, when it came, His Excellency the President took it up because we as cabinet members who are saying we'll retaliate and all that. But the President gave leadership, and he talked to his counterpart in Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who requested that send your Minister for Agriculture.
Why agriculture?
Because these people, I think, were bringing it out as a technical issue to do with quality and all that. So our Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, had to go and meet Honorable Kimunya from the other side. They met and the issue was resolved. Now our eggs are going to Kenya. It has been resolved.
You see, the challenge I find there is that it's a trade issue,
Yeah.
and they're sending a special committee,
Yeah.
direct special committee. When do our structures work as a country?
You see, if you want to know, the president, the general authority of the president, under Article 99 of the Constitution, he's the CEO of this country.
He can
He's
delegate
the CEO.
whoever he feels
He's the CEO.
fit.
Even me, my work, the work I'm doing it on behalf of the president.
Yes.
He's the one who delegates. He just delegates me. But on that specific matter, His Excellency Kenyatta is the one who requested that send the Minister of Agriculture.
Okay.
Since these are
So it was
issues
a
to do with
quality issue,
agriculture.
so-
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. It's a couple of minutes coming to midnight, and those of you who have been online, there is a lot of feedback. Brian Nahamia, thank you so much, says that the progress has been slow. We need to know why. Sarah Bidete says still about the Loboa issue, something is not adding
Why
up.
are you skipping Sarah?
No, she asked about this. She was still about the special.
Why are you interested in Sarah?
I can't skip Sarah.
Because he has mentioned
Then
he's reading someone's skipping.
the other
Why?
issue here is about the schools. We need to know how ready government is when it gets to opening of schools. Some teachers have given up the jobs. They are now very good. They're doing fairly well in the other business of borders and the likes. Are they under training? Are they undergoing psychosocial therapy before
Teachers
they
are
come
there.
back?
Number one, government has released 128 billion to schools, government-aided schools, to do the slashing, the painting, and
Oh dear.
for government-aided schools. Okay.
Have you thought about the privates as well?
No, first listen, 128. The privates, you parents are already quarreling with them over school fees. Eh?
Because it's
I saw
heavy.
some of them, you're saying they've
Yes.
double charged. So we've already released 128 billion
Yes.
to the schools, and they are refurbishing. I came from my constituency, and I would urge colleagues to go and visit their constituencies. They see how the schools are doing. The teachers have been undergoing refresher course for 2 weeks. All these trainings, the RDCs are requested to move around and look at the readiness of the reopening. So I believe everyone is very, very anxious. On 10th, we shall reopen. And most of the issues, we shall be updating Parliament and the country as we go along.
Joel, what are you looking forward in 2022 as NUP, as a party? What should we wait for as a country?
We've gone through a lot in 2021, and like I said, that all is not lost. There's things that we have done and want to do a lot more of. We had set out to begin to go to different parts of the country. We are a registered political party. You know, I've seen NRM roaming around central region saying they want to take it back and so on. Well, good luck on that. But I don't want them to be stopped because they're a registered political party. But in like manner, I don't know why we in NUP say we're going for this activity. No, we're going for a radio station and then some RDC. RDCs are very small people in this country, but for some reason they imagine they're very powerful.
They represent the president.
So what? Do you know their mandate in the constitution? Because I'm basing on that to say they are very small, you know, but they want to jump everywhere and say, no, Bobby Wine, you cannot be on radio, you know. No, you can imagine the mentality. We registered political party and try and stop us as they might, we will not drop the ball. But you see, it's something that's been happening now that you ask me about NUP. I've been seeing lots of attacks.
Online and offline.
You know, from some elites, especially. You know, of course, some of them are.
Hey, you've also gone for peasants now.
really,
The elites have turned against you.
no, there are some elites. Actually, and that's why I've said some, yeah? You know, Dr. Besige made an interesting remark sometime. I don't know whether he was on a show here.
He was here with me.
You know, and he said the elite are very useless. Maybe he was being too hard on them, but I mean, I listened to some people who go after a party that's been around for, I mean, we've been on the scene for a year and a half. We unveiled NUP to the country July 22nd last year. And in 1.5 years, God has enabled us to do some incredible things, really. You know, we are not perfect. There's a lot more that we should have done, that we want to do, you know, but there's things that we have done. Things that, I mean, I see some folks from several other parties attack us. They have been here for decades, and they've not done half of the things God has enabled us to do. I'm not gloating, but I'm saying,
are you going to
I see bits of those, you know, but for me, I think more important than an Andrew who sits in his air-conditioned office. I see you guys talk to people, you call them analysts, you know, fellow sits in, and you'd say, this NUP, this, that, and the other. But you see, for you, what are you doing about the betterment of this country? NUP is doing what it is able to do.
What is NUP
There are challenges.
Yeah, that's what we want to know.
I'm building this.
I have a few minutes to wrap up.
This is important, you know.
Maybe doesn't want to reveal
I would like that we get to a place where this ceases to just be about NUP, and we have plans and so on, you know, as a party. But you see, I want the conversation to get that you as a Ugandan, wherever you are, you don't have to belong to NUP. For you, what are you doing? You're saying NUP has not done much. Okay, you're seeing the challenges too. I usually like to ask those people, if I get a chance, for you, what are you doing?
Mr. Ssenyonyi, so my question was blunt.
Getting
what
to
are
that,
NUP plans going forward?
I told you I was building, because I thought that was important. Want to embolden the people more, but you see, more important, of course, you're giving me a minute. I'm not going to give a breakdown of this, that, and the other, yeah.
Yep.
But one of our bigger focuses really is we want Ugandans to wake up, and I'm talking Ugandans, not just talking about NUP supporters. That wherever you are, instead of asking, but you, Andrew, you're not doing enough here, or whatever the case might be, and it's okay. Of course, we are leaders, and so people should hold us accountable. But what are you doing where you are? Because no one is powerless, no one is irrelevant, you know, and like I've said, everybody is under attack. You don't have to belong to NUP. You journalists are being beaten and so on.
Of course.
What are you doing to make sure that situation changes?
Okay.
What are you doing to see to it that, no, when you pay your tax money, it doesn't get stolen?
Okay.
Ssenyonyi will play his part in
you need to play your part too.
to unearth all these things and so on. So before you say, but Ssenyonyi, you only unearth them, expose them, they get ashamed, but then what? You know, can we get a lot more collective about these things? What are you as a citizen doing? That's important.
Well, because of time, we come to the end of the show today. It has been very remarkable that you've been part of the show. Those online on Twitter, the hashtag was NTV Sport. I really want to thank you. We've come to the end of this year, and this is the last On The Sport. I want to thank Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, the Government Chief Whip. And from NUP, we've had Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi, and those who are watching, but you could not send me a tweet or a comment. I really want to appreciate you. Be the great Ugandan. Do something about your situation. Those who've elected into positions of power, hold them accountable to give you accountability to what they're doing. I'm Andrew Chamagino. Have a lovely